Hey y'all, welcome back to our weekly energy report. I'm Peyton and I'm joined by the ladies, Corey and Yaila. And today we are going to be talking about how to get in touch with your authentic self. This is something that we talk about a lot in the spiritual community, but not everyone knows, how do you do that? What does this look like? So that's what we're going to be chatting about in today's video. So I would like to start with you today, Corey. What do you think about when you think about being your authentic self? What comes to mind?
Hmm. Think about the authentic self. Well, a lot of shadow work, doing a lot of shadow work. Um, Authentic self. You know, um, it takes a while to get there. It does. It takes some inner work. One of them is shadow work. So shedding old beliefs. I um, I did this exercise several years ago, and I wrote down all of the beliefs that I had grown up with. And then I crossed out the ones that I really weren't true for me anymore. And then I wrote down, a list of um, what beliefs and what was true for me. And that was a really big exercise. It seemed so very simple, but it never dawned on me to write down the beliefs that I grew up with that no longer served me. That was a bit of a milestone in the spiritual work, and then doing energy work around that. So, when I started this journey, I had everybody else's energy on me, and yeah, I had a sense of my authentic self, but I grew up, as a people pleaser, so acting according to what situation I was in. Behave yourself, dress according to the appropriate attire, um, and just the way I was brought up. Be ladylike and don't speak too much. Those sorts of things. Um, and as time went on, there was this inner, really silly girl that just wanted to burst out. And so again, beginning the journey, and energy work was life changing. And that's what I do with my clients and students, is that by finding the energy, old beliefs and the energy that no longer serves you, and work on energetically releasing those. Um, you know, um, I had no idea that I was carrying everybody else's energy, but realizing that our whole lives, we walk around, go to the mall, and somebody just looks at you in passing and they're putting their energy on you, and vice versa. If you're looking at somebody, you're putting energy on them too. But I didn't have a concept of that at all I knew is that there were times I'd feel anxiety, and times that I would feel angry, and times that didn't make sense at all. Like, why am I feeling this way? Nothing happened. What happened? I don't know. And during the process of learning energy work, I was taught that energy is either ours or not ours, and that really is a base root, a daily base root of anywhere that I go, and some random emotion comes up or feeling in my body. The first thing I ask is this my energy or is this somebody else's? And that's where I start. And that's what I teach my clients and my students. First off, that energetically we take on other people's energy. And so the process of eliminating that and releasing that is where we start to find our authentic self. Doing energy work and the clairvoyance and getting our bodies clean, the old beliefs, it could be an ex, The old thinking, clearing the head. I started to get to know myself, and doing energy work empowered me. It really did. And it helped me to be in charge of what energy comes in and what energy goes out. And I never thought that I was that powerful, really. I was born, I'm born a twin, and I have a twin brother, and he was always went first. It was like he always had to come in first place. So I was always, in the background. And so my whole life, I just, I was always someone that somebody else wanted me to be, but that had that inner fight, that inner rebel that wanted to come out. And somebody would say something to me, and it didn't sound right to me. I was like, that doesn't make sense. But I just was like, okay, well, don't ruffle any feathers. And finding our authentic self does start with getting rid of everyone else's energies, beliefs, core values, core pictures. And then we start to recognize who we really are, and then start to build on that. And in today's world, we have, it's all over, people wanting to be their authentic self. Now we can have like different color in our hair and dress differently. And I think that society right now is, and has been for a while, really fighting to find their authentic self. And energy work helped me find myself and helped me feel safe in the world, because once you find your authentic self, who you are inside, your truth, your values, your beliefs, what resonates with you and what doesn't resonate with you, and being okay with that, and knowing that doesn't mean it's good or bad. It just means that it doesn't resonate with you, and that's okay. And realizing that maybe my soul didn't sign up for what somebody else's soul really resonates with. So standing from that observation point of view helped me to not blame others, or to make things bad or good, or right or wrong, but to allow others to live their life as they so choose. And that, I could live my life the way that I chose. And it's not so bad. But it takes a lot of shadow work, and I trying anything, like channeling and Reiki, and you don't know unless you try it. And that's what energy work has done for me. And I see it in so many of my clients and students. They get to find their authentic self, because energy is always changing. And we come from the school of it's not good or bad or right or wrong. It just is, getting neutral. And and it could change too. We could find our authentic self, and energy always changes. So it could change too. And how wonderful is that? But as long as you find, get all the energy that's not yours out of your body and your energy field, that is a good start to find your authentic self. What have you got, Yaila?
Thanks, Corey. I love this topic because I feel like finding your authentic self is a never-ending journey. And when I think of finding yourself, for me, it's actually uncovering all the ways we closed ourselves down or closed ourselves off, or kind of put ourselves in this little squeezed down version of who we really wanted to be. And that comes from different places, whether it's ideals, trying to fit into family or certain societies or certain communities. It's usually coming from a place of belongingness. And when you start to discover finding yourself, I feel like the journey has been uncovering all those places and giving myself space to actually even just explore who I really am, where my values really are, what's really important to me. Many things that Corey touched on, I feel like once I started doing the energy work is really where I discovered that, we are exchanging energy all the time with other people, and energy is always changing. And we put, if we're thinking continuous thoughts over and over, they start to become beliefs, and beliefs start to manifest in how we actually show up and the actions we take. And it can even manifest as certain patterns in our body. Sometimes if it's a really gnarly belief, it can actually show up as disease. So or outside world starts to reflect, mirror back to us the frequencies that we hold. So finding your authentic self for me is really about discovering all the ways you're shutting yourself down. Was probably my quickest, easiest way. And the path to do that can look very different for each person. For the three of us here, obviously, we found the energy work path the quickest, most streamlined way for us and our energy. But there's many ways. I mean, meditation, there's getting involved in volunteering, implementing a gratitude practice, journaling. I love how Corey brought up shadow work, connecting with your inner child. I mean, there's so many different ways you can start to go about discovering who you are and discovering the ways that you kind of closed and shut yourself down. I think of, some really great speakers out there, or even business coach and leaders. They talk about sharing your gift, through your voice. But for me, I felt like what really is my voice? I felt like sometimes we're kind of taught in school, this is how you say things. And we're taught how to basically think. We're not really taught to question, where is this coming from? Why do I do this? Why, we're kind of get stuck into just the standard way of doing things. And I feel actually really thankful every day that I did discover energy work, because I found all the ways that I was like just doing things on autopilot for as long as I could remember. And the beautiful gift is, as we start to do this as adults, we are very aware of how are we creating the consciousness of the younger generation, of our kids, of what is the world that we want to be creating around us. So finding yourself is not just about how do you benefit yourself, but to me, it's always about that ripple effect. How do we impact others to truly be themselves? And how do we not tear each other down for difference of opinions or difference of lifestyle or different ways of doing things, but how do we still honor who we are and collaborate or live cohesively with other people who might do it different, So I feel like this is such an ongoing journey about the discovery. And since energy is always changing and energy is everything, you literally have a choice in every single moment to switch it. If you decide who you've been is no longer who you want to be moving forward, we actually have the choice to disconnect from our previous story of who we thought we were or who we thought we could be or couldn't be. And now we get to focus on, where do we want to go? Who do we want to be more like? And it's a really empowering and exciting time now that we have so much awareness and so much resources at our fingertips. We really have so much more possibilities than we've ever had as a cultural history society. So I feel like when you are looking to find your authentic self, it's looking at, how are you shutting yourself down? How are you disconnecting from what your heart, your body, your mind are telling you? Because being that awareness, having that observation of just what's showing up in your space is a great start. And then from there, how do you want to move the energy? How do you want to adjust the things that are showing up for you? What do you want more of? What do you want less of? So you really get to make it your own and go at a pace that you feel ready for. And if you, of course, need support, there's people out there like Peyton, Corey, and myself that, we've done some of this work and we have some energy tools to help you do that. But, go with who you feel in alignment with out there in the world. What are people, who's doing things that you would be, you're inspired by, that you would like more of? Because it's your choice. You get to be who you create. It's just, I love how Corey's bringing up, like, now we get to have like fun hair colors, and it's like a thing now at in society where you really get to do what lights you up. This journey is about enjoying the process. It's not about the destination. We're all going to live to whatever point we live to, but it's really about the journey. How do you want to spend that journey, and give yourself that time and space of letting yourself do it. And if there's limiting beliefs, check in and see, where is that actually coming from? Is it actually true for you? Or is it coming from an outside thing? Where did that start? Just being curious. And I've said it many times before, your curiosity and amusement are your superpowers across the board for so many different things. It's really going to help keep you in aligning to those places and people and things that really do highlight your authentic self, help you discover your authentic self. And I think a lot of it is courage too, just to say your truth, to know your truth, to look at where you are acting out of obligation versus acting out of your true heart center. So I could probably go on this for many different tangents, so I don't want to ramble too much. How about you, Peyton? How do you connect with finding your authentic self?
I love this topic, and I love hearing you guys talk about it, because the first time I started to hear people talk about finding your authentic self or being your authentic self, I was so confused. I'm like, was I not? I'm like, oh my God, what does that even mean? How do I do this? I had no idea. And the Pleiadians have been really talking a lot about this in the past couple of years, about what a critical part of our ascension journey it is to find our authentic selves and to be our authentic selves. So this is something that I have kind of, after my initial confusion, been giving some thought to. What does this mean to me, and how do I do this, like, as a practical matter? And so what I found is that kind of three things come up for me when I think about, am I being my authentic self? And so for me, the first one is always to ask if I am in integrity with myself. And we talked about this in our video on integrity, which is really good. Y'all should check that out. But for me, the way I define integrity, and actually this is someone else's definition, but I liked it so much, I have adopted it. They said that integrity is when your thoughts, your words, and your actions are all saying the same thing. And I thought that was a beautiful way to look at it, because so often we don't do that. We do things out of obligation. So our actions are saying yes, but our gut is saying no. Or we say things that people want to hear rather than saying what we truly feel. And so for me, the more I try to check in with myself and make sure that I am in integrity with myself, I find that that's a big part of being my authentic self. And it's something we have to train ourselves into, because as you guys were mentioning, most of us have been taught the opposite. I know I grew up in a very, conservative, traditional family, went through a very conventional schooling, very conventional career, and no one really cared what you truly thought. I mean, let's be clear. That has never been a priority in most of my life experience. It was follow the rules, toe the line, do what you're told. It was very conformist based. And so as we're trying to connect with our authentic self, it requires us to be a little more non-conformist, to start saying no and pushing back and asking why we believe certain things, why we do certain things. And when you start to do that, it's really eye-opening, because you start to realize how many things you do just based on your programming, with what other people have told you or trained you to do. So for me, that's always the first step in trying to be authentic, is, am I doing what feels right to me? Am I saying what I mean? Am I thinking in a positive, constructive manner? And am I taking action that matches those things? So for me, that has kind of come down to being my first step in the authenticity process. And then the second part of the puzzle for me is a little trickier, and that is to actually stand in my truth and to share my light with the world. And I've heard from so many of my clients and so many light workers and starseeds that shining their light, shining their truth, being themselves is extremely difficult. Because if you are part of the awakened community, so many of us grew up in families, educational systems, communities that were not so open-minded necessarily. And so a lot of times light workers and starseeds are the first ones to start to expand their consciousness. And when we do that, we start to challenge the norm. And nothing threatens an ego mind more than being challenged. And so to actually stand up and be the only one in your friend group to share very unconventional ideas can be really intimidating. And so this is a mistake that I made for so long, probably the first 7 or 8 years of my spiritual journey. I told no one about what I was doing, what I was thinking. It was strictly on the DL. I mean, I would hide my books. If you asked me questions about what I thought, I would give you the party line, because it was absolutely too threatening, both to my version of reality and to the environment I was in, to start to be sharing what I actually thought, that I was actually starting to make my own decisions and question what I was being taught. But that can be a very scary process. And especially if you are someone who tends to be a people pleaser. And all my Pleiadian starseeds out there, this is a huge thing with us. It can be very challenging because you're not pleasing people anymore when you start to share what you truly believe. And so it takes some bravery. It takes the ability to stand there and say, this is what I think, this is who I am and who I am going to be. And that's a scary process. There's a lot of judgment that can come along with this. So being our authentic self is not always a walk in the park, because it really does take a little bit of courage, a little bit of us being willing to say, this is who I am, take it or leave it. And you lose people in the journey. When you start to shine your own light, it threatens people who have not done their own work, because you are shaking the very foundation of their reality. And that's what we are going through as a society right now. The light is starting to shine. We are starting to see all the cracks in the conditioning that we have all been raised on, and it is scaring the crap out of people. And so that to me is part of what the authenticity process is we start to do what is right for us. And then we just have to be comfortable standing in that and letting other people react the way they will. And so for me, the final part of this puzzle of how do we be more authentic is we have to then extend the same courtesy to everyone else. We have to let everyone else be themselves. And that means not forcing our opinions on them. And it can be tempting for those of us who are light workers, healers, to want to save others, to help everyone, regardless of whether they know they're drowning. We can tend to overhelp and overheal, as we say in the energy world. And so for me, pulling back a bit and respecting the journey that other people are on, even if we think we might have a solution that would help them, is part of, again, standing in who we are, but letting other people do the same. So for me, that is what kind of moves me toward being my most authentic self. But it's a journey. And I think, as Yaila said, this is a lifetime process of learning who we truly are and how to live that. How does that look in your life? But for me, it has been so freeing. And a big part of that is finding your tribe. I think that is one thing that I know has helped the three of us in kind of standing in our truth, is having like-minded people to share your unconventional views with. So that's how I'm starting to move toward authenticity. It's a journey.
Yeah. And, I think Corey and I were similar to you, Peyton, where we didn't necessarily share moving into this energy work side in the very beginning, because at first we were kind of understanding it too, right? So how do you speak into something that you're still learning about yourself? So in your finding your authentic self, or even just having the courage to own who you are, what you're stepping into, it's a process. And if you feel the need to keep that quiet and under wraps, then feel the need to keep that quiet and under wraps until you're ready to speak freely about it. You have to trust where your energy, what you and your energy need. And something that's also popping up too is the more present you are in this now moment, the more you're going to be in alignment with who acting out of that integrity. I love that you use that word, Peyton, because that's a similar belief that I try to uphold too. It's like, am I matching what my thoughts, emotions, words are with what I'm actually doing? Am I being authentic? Am I being in integrity? And it's something that I check myself on daily. Some days I do better than others, and it's okay. You recognize the journey. And I think giving yourself space to just be in the present moment and trusting that what you are stepping into and what you're aligning to is all part of the process, and not to beat yourself up. So then you get to notice that journey for other people. And just know, sometimes being your authentic self and stepping into where you want to go. Some people have beliefs off of the old version of who they knew you as. They kind of they're stuck in their old story of who you are and who you're capable of. And so when you drop that expectation that everybody's going to understand where you're going, where you are now, it may not happen, at least not for a while, as we are learning to truly honor our own authentic self. So just know the journey can sometimes be lonely. It can sometimes be quiet. It can sometimes feel longer than maybe we're expecting it to be. But the more you have the courage to honor your heart, the more you realize the less and less scary it is when someone doesn't agree with you. When somebody feels that you're too woo-woo or whatever it is, like whatever your version of your authentic self is. I just got to a point where I'm like, I really don't care what people want to think me as. Like, I know what I'm doing. And people will kind of say like smart ass comments about, oh, I thought you were intuitive, when I just something happens like, oh, I thought you were intuitive. But I'm like, yeah, but I'm also a human. I'm not like tapped into everybody's energy. But it's a way to just not take anything too personal, or I don't get out of my own heart as much as I consciously can to other people's opinions or thoughts of who they think I am or should be, or how that's going to look. So I think being in the present moment just really helps you keep that in check as well.
Absolutely. Nope, I agree. Present moment helps everything. And yeah, giving yourself time, I think that's huge, because it can be a process. And it's easy for us to say, oh, stand in your truth, shine your light. But when you're actually doing that and you're looking at the faces of the people you're dealing with, it can be a whole other ballgame. So, moving at your own pace is really important too, because that is being authentic to yourself. You may need more time to do this. I needed about 8 years. So don't feel bad, because, we're changing our conditioning. This is what we have been raised to believe, is just follow the line. And we're breaking that mold. And that just doesn't happen overnight.
No, it really doesn't. And it takes a while to really find out who we are. When we're on this journey, what resonates with us, what doesn't resonate. And it can get lonely sometimes. But when you're working on your authentic self, you like yourself. So it's not so bad as to the old, it took that many years to be who you are when you start this journey. So, however, I have to say is that, time is speeding up. And I do notice that with my clients and students, that what took me a couple of years, they're getting through a lot quicker, because time is speeding up, the veil is thinner. And so finding your authentic self these days, because time is speeding up, is happening faster, but patience is still required for oneself and everyone else, actually. Have you ladies noticed that?
Yeah, definitely a lot more, almost instant manifestation, if I can talk, instant manifestation. I see popping up quite a bit, or what used to take months or whatever is now happening in like hours. So it's happening, feels like quickly, but it's more of just that quick alignment, like shift.
Yeah, and as the energies continue to rise, as the frequency of the planet rises, and it's doing that every single day, it's going to get faster and faster. And people are just going to start getting it automatically, but as we have moved through time, everyone had to kind of break ground from where they were. Think about the people who were 10 or 20 years ahead of us doing this journey, our teachers, how much harder it was for them, and so now it's so fun to see our students and clients get things so quickly when we can look at them and go, took me 3 years to get that, and they get it instantly because the energies are changing. So it's encouraging because we have a lot more support now for, being on this path, wanting to make the world a better place. And so the momentum is just going to build. So that's the encouraging part of it. So
moving into the Aquarian age.
Yep, absolutely. Well, ladies, any last thoughts on being your authentic self? Nope, we've covered it. Awesome. I wish I had had this video like 5 years ago. It would have been so helpful. Well, thank you guys so much for checking out our videos. We love you and appreciate you so much. We always appreciate your likes, your shares, and your follows. And don't forget to subscribe to our individual YouTube channels. We will link them below. I would make the little pointy signs that the girls like to tease me about, but I'm going to restrain myself today. But we really appreciate you guys, and let us know, what can we do to help you? We do this all to help you. So let us know what you want to know about, and have a great night. We will see you on the next video. Bye.